Shalom, all praises to Yahweh by Shem Yahushai, and double honors to the apostles and the elders of the Great Millstone by Shem Rakak Wadash. My name is Yakalba from Plaintables Camp in Philly. Now, we know that the dollar is being devalued, and it's based upon, trust, based upon a order that the American dollar is secure, and they secure that through the petrodollar, through OPEC. They all agree that they're going to trade their oil in dollars. So if it wasn't for that, the American dollar, which is fiat, it's just a commandment or order, let it be. All right, that's why that dollar is still being used, is because you have countries agree to use it. All right. So it says, why central banks buy so much gold? There's been a trend, I believe, since 2010 or 2011 of central banks buying gold. And, some people are saying that, which I agree with, that countries are losing faith that the dollar is valuable. All right. Fiat, the American dollar is called a fiat currency. It's not backed by gold. I believe they said it lost 96% of its value. I don't know how they're gauging the amount of value being lost, but it's not backed by anything. It's just backed by trust. It's backed by people using it. So as long as people use it, it's valuable. All right, so let them speak.
Recently, a lot of the central banks in the world have been buying gold. In fact, they've been buying more gold now in the last 12 months than probably any time since the early 70s. Why are central banks buying so much gold, and particularly the Russians?
Each central bank has a little bit of their own narrative. The Russians obviously are afraid that dependency on the US dollar could make them vulnerable. The Chinese are also buying lots of gold. But interestingly enough, so too are the Indians and a number of other countries. Essentially, what you see by the absence of central bank selling of gold and the purchase by particularly Eastern countries of gold is an understanding that most of what are counted as reserves in these central banks are really ephemeral.
So what is counted as reserves in the central banks is really ephemeral, which means lasting a short time. So what are they holding as reserve? They're holding American dollars. All right. But I believe in 2019, the gold has risen to tier 1 capital. And we'll go into what tier 1 means. And I believe the dollar is either going to 2 or 3, but gold is now tier 1 capital. Ephemeral means lasting a short time, transitory, transient, meaning here and then it's gone.
In these central banks are really ephemeral. Most central bankers want to weaken their currencies, and that usually means printing, figuratively or literally. Gold is the only currency that can't be printed. And I can tell you in the mining business, you almost can't really find it in any size any longer. So when you have central bankers trying to debase their currencies and the mining companies can't find it, you have a very interesting currency. And it's the only asset which these central banks have that isn't somebody else's liability. When you own gold, it just is what it is. You own it.
Now, some of the central banks have the view, as you kind of alluded to, that owning a lot of dollars makes you very dependent on the U.S. economy, and how the value of the dollar goes is not something you can control. Not that you can control the price of gold, but it's something you can touch and feel, and it's more solid, and it gives people comfort. Generally, I think it's right, and I'd like to hear your comment on this, when people are worried about the economy, they're worried about whether dislocations occurring in the economy or so forth, they tend to go to gold. Why is that? Why do people feel comforted when they buy gold as opposed to having paper currency?
for the simple reason that they know that gold is scarce and that throughout history, paper has always been debased.
So,
Since the Federal Reserve was established, the value of the dollar has gone from $1 to 7 cents. Gold, on the other hand, has risen in value. So when you look at it, it's not an unreasonable proposition. It's like Ray Dalio made a very good comment, I think, very succinct, rational.
he's the head of Bridgewater, very successful hedge fund.
And hyper-rational, as he would say. And he said, the case for gold, when you strip away the emotion, is that it's just another currency, like the yen, the dollar, the Aussie, the Swiss franc. And those who don't...
I put in how is the price of the dollar determined, and it came up with as a summary. Currency value is determined by aggregate supply and demand. Supply and demands are influenced by a number of factors, including interest rates, inflation, capital flow, and money supply. The most common method of value of currency is through exchange rates. I don't really understand that, but supply and demand, I understand. Meaning that everybody's using it. Everybody's demanding a dollar because that's what it's agreed upon. So everybody agreed to use a dollar, so they use a dollar. So that's what makes it valuable. Not that it's backed by any commodity. And keep it simple, supply and demand. And people want the currency because that's what the oil was traded in, so that's what makes it valuable. Because it's not backed by a commodity like gold.
Don't understand what gold means, either don't understand the history of it, or don't understand the markets, and that everyone should just own some gold as you would own any other currency. By
All right, so that was in 2019. All right, so leave that there. So we got now the secret council are the Illuminati, the bankers. It says, hide me from the secret council of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. And I'm focusing on money for this the point I'm trying to make here. Who wet their tongues like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. What are the bitter words? Meaning when Esau creates laws, organizations, and groups, he does it in a way where it excludes poor people. So poor people, mainly referring to so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, Israelites, so they can't benefit from the financial system. Right, and that's a curse. So he made it complicated, complex. So only the highly fortunate or intelligent or people that belong to other groups can benefit. And he put distractions in our face so we won't benefit from the current system. And that's the curses. And so we'll focus on stupid shit instead of focusing on, money. All right. And focusing, on partying and having a good time. So we'll be pretty much broke and dusty. And Esau has done a terrific job on distracting us. All right. And that's the curse. All right. To make it, and Lord, that's the curse that the Most High put us under, to make us stupid. That's in the Deuteronomy 28 says that we're going to be the tail and the enemy going to be the head. So now we're the tail now. So now Esau is benefiting and we're not benefiting from the current financial system. All right. Bitter words. What was that? 47:51. Discontent. So when he speaks those words, we absorb those words. We live out those bitter words, and we become what? Dissatisfied, especially with one's circumstances. Because the Lord put that impediment in the way. All right, to slow us down, to destroy some of us, to abate our courage. make us have weak minds. All right, those bitter, dissatisfied, especially with one's circumstances. He's done an excellent job to destroy our nation with that, with those curses. All right, and he used Esau to do it. All right, tier 1. You had the some gold first. The bankers, they're immune from a prosecution. You can't arrest them. Most of them, we don't know who the hell they are. All right. So we had the bank for international settlements. Bank International Settlements, BIS. It says a confluence of factors is gathering which could herald a significant change in global financial structure. Fiat currencies, meaning let it be. We give you an order, a command that this is going to be currency, what's in circulation. And that's the American dollar for the Petro World Reserve currency. And all countries run on, engines and generate electricity through burning of oil or nuclear power. All right, mainly the oil. All right, morphing into CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, and integral to the process of ownership and control of global stock. Connecting all these developments is the Bank for International Settlements, a self-proclaimed central bank of central banks. Meaning they work with central banks to settle their payments. All right, founded in 1930 in Basel, Switzerland, and is ostensibly, purportedly, but perhaps not, owned by 63% central banks worldwide. So the central banks own the BIS, Bank for International Settlements. These central banks represent 95% of the world's GDP. The avowed mission of this BIS is to serve central banks in their pursuit of monetary and financial stability. All right, so this is supposed to be the head of all central banks. All right, and the central banks of each country work with the BIS, Bank International Settlements. All right, so the point here is the members of the board of directors of the bank, together with the representatives of those central banks which are members of the bank, shall enjoy, while carrying out their duties in Switzerland and throughout their journey to or from the place where a meeting is held, the following privileges and immunities. And this is why we believe in an Illuminati. All right, so-called the hidden ones of the secret council of the wicked. Right? Immunity from arrest or imprisonment, and immunity from seizure of their personal baggage, save in flagrant cases of criminal offenses. Inviolability of all papers and documents. Let's just look that up. Secure from assault or trespass. Oh, so you can't take your paperwork, basically. Secure from violation. Inviolable.
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 Inviolable. All right, so they basically you can't fuck with them. All right. Free from trespass or violation of all papers and documents. Yeah, because we found out what they were doing. You would want them arrested and jailed for life or executed. Immunity from jurisdiction, so they can't be extradited anywhere, even after their mission has been accomplished, for acts carried out in the discharge of their duties, including words spoken and writings. and the right to use codes in official communications or to receive or send documents or correspondence by means of couriers or diplomatic bags. All right, so they can be send messages, and it's immune from jurisdiction. So I can't get documents en route somewhere and from them and then use it in court against them. It's illegal in Switzerland. All right. So this is they could be front men for the bankers, family members of the bankers. All right. This is the control that they have and the immunity that they have. All right. So when we read Psalm 64, this is why we read this and equate it to the bankers. All right. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. All right. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. All right. Those are the bitter words. All right. So I had some other things up. I had some more on gold's move from tier 3 to tier 1. Bank capital. I think I flashed across the screen. Tier 1 capital. And the point of this lesson is that the dollar is being less trusted. And eventually they're going to implement that CBDC. All right. Central bank digital currency in America and throughout the different nations. Right. Tier 1 capital refers to the core capital held in a bank's reserves and is used for businesses' activities for the bank clients, including common stock as well as disclosed reserves and certain other assets. All right, along with tier 2. So maybe the dollar is tier 2 now. I'm not sure what the dollar is now, according to the Bank of International Settlements. All right, so this is the tier 1. So gold is now the the core capital held within the Bank of International Settlements. Gold, and then dollar probably 2 or 3. And gold used to be 3. All right, so they're looking at gold as being more valuable than the dollar as a reserve. All right, so that means something. All right. It says the BIS, so you get more information on what the BIS is. Bank of International Settlements. The purpose of the BIS is to support central bankers with payment processing, their monetary policy and the stability of the world's banks. All right, that's more on that. The central bank's buying gold, so how I see it is they're losing faith in the dollar being the reserve currency, whether it be engineered or not. You got some people saying, which probably is true, that they're devaluing the dollar. These countries are doing this purposely to devalue the dollar, so they can say so all those nations can bring in their central bank digital currencies. All right. So that's one plausible theory. They're going to crash the dollar to bring in every nation's CBDC. All right. Central bank's gold demand since 1971, around 2010, 2011, they started buying more gold for the central banks. All right. It's the word standard. It says an object that is regarded as usual or most common size or form of its kind. We stock the deluxe models as well as standard. So if the dollar's going down and moving to gold, that means each nation's value, is supposed to rise, but the market's being manipulated because Esau's still in control. Even though these countries are buying gold, Esau's still in control. The bankers are still in control because of that petrodollar, and they all still are really in agreement on the banking level anyway. All right, but it's slowly dwindling. It says the average or normal requirement. Right, so because even though these countries are buying their gold, they're still using the dollar. So as long as they use that dollar, the bankers are still in control, serving as a basis of weight, measurement, value, comparison, or judgment. All right, so the dollar is being devalued, ultimately to bring in, the central bank digital currencies. All right, which goes to Revelation 13:6-15 on down. All right. So even though the dollar is losing its value and people are moving away from the West, like America, Western, moving away from the dollar by positioning themselves. They're still using it, but they're positioning themselves to use their own currency. All right, they're still going to agree on the singular monetary system, which is going to be the implant. All right, but we can see through the devaluing of the dollar that a worm is spread under Esau, and eventually he's going to move to their absolute destruction. Those nations are going to shoot their missiles on America. Thy pomp, 14:11, Isaiah, thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vows, and the worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? This is the Illuminati. They'll cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations. All right. I mean, by instituting that fiat currency, that's what I'm on. I'm on the money thing now. So that makes, the American dollar more valuable, and they have more control by everyone using the dollar. All right, and they're going to lose that control when they stop using it. But we still have ways to go, right? Because these nations are going to introduce their central bank digital currencies. All right, now we look at worm. We got 74.15. All right, maggot worm. It calls a sign of decay. Yeah, America's decaying. So they're going to have one last trick up their sleeve is just with being order and stability. All right, Revelation, the mark. All right, he calls both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. We believe that's the implant. Mark. Yeah, charagma. It's a badge of servitude, so you won't be able to use the current currency, the dollar, or the euro, or the ruble, or whatever currency it is, because all those nations are going to switch to the new system. All right. And he calls us all but small and great, rich and poor, free and bond. So they're all going to agree. Not that, the bankers control, Russia and China. They control them to a degree, but they're all going to come together. They're going to agree. So yeah, we're going to use this mark. Use this new medium to access currency. This is going to be the implant. All right, a mark stamped in the forehead with the right hand as a badge of the followers of the Antichrist. So by getting his mark, you pledge allegiance to serve the bankers. All right? Whoever is behind, which are the bankers, the Amalekites, the Edomites. All right, you take their mark. You're in service to them. You make them your God. Scratch or etching, a stamp. A thing carved, so it's going to go into your body, into your skin, as a sign of ownership, as a badge of servitude. Instead of being a slave or completely subject to someone more powerful. All right. So, pretty much made the point of the video. Esau controls the money, and gold has become the capital, the tier 1 capital. All right. So that means they trust gold more than the dollar now. Tier 1 capital refers to the core capital held in a bank's reserves and is used to fund business activities for the bank's clients. So they trust gold more than the dollar. So that's how we know that the dollar is going to be replaced with something else, and we believe it's going to be CBDCs. It's not going to be gold. Okay. All right. It's going to be the CBD, whether they back it by gold or not. All right. Let's say the CBDCs are backed by 100% gold. All right. Doesn't matter. You still gotta use the digital currency, whether it's backed by something or not. All right. So I want you thinking, well, since they're going to gold, are we going to be trading with gold? Not necessarily. All right. The CBDCs are still there. Now, we'll see how it plays out. All right. But we ain't going to be using gold they're not going to declare gold. That's my belief anyway. They're not going to declare gold because what's the prophecy? The prophecy don't say that gold is going to be be exchanged for goods and services. It says that if you don't take the mark is not gold. The mark is the chip. All right, the implant. All right, so although the central banks are buying the gold, all right, now it's tier 1 capital. We're at 26 minutes. All right, this is not going to be what we're going to be trading with. Maybe individually. But when it comes to the world's governments, it's going to be that ultimately, all right, it's going to be that implant. That's going to be the medium to access currency. All right, currency is what's current, what we're currently using as money. All right, and it's going to be digital. All right, whether it's backed or not backed. All right, so I'm gonna leave that there. I hope you're edified. Shalom. Well, I'll play the video again for you. No, I'll leave it there. I made my point. I hope you edified. Shalom.